Veronica stared at her reflection in the mirror, a visage of beauty that masked a soul twisted by years of exploitation and betrayal. Once a celebrated star, she had been adored and desired by many. But the glitz and glamour had faded, leaving behind scars that time couldn't heal. Her fall from grace had been swift and merciless. The industry that once worshipped her now discarded her, like a toy that had lost its charm. But Veronica was not one to be discarded. She would reclaim control one way or another. Tinder was her new stage. She crafted her profile with meticulous care, choosing pictures that highlighted her allure and descriptions that promised excitement and danger. Men flocked to her, swiping right in droves, oblivious to the deadly game they were stepping into. Every swipe right was a potential victim, and every conversation was a prelude to death. Veronica reveled in the power she held, the ability to lure men to their doom with nothing more than a smile and a few well-chosen words. John was a stockbroker, confident and brash, just the type Veronica loved to toy with. They matched instantly, and their conversation flowed effortlessly. He suggested they meet at a high-end bar downtown, a place where he felt in control. Veronica arrived, exuding a mix of sophistication and seduction. John's eyes lit up as he saw her, already envisioning how the night would end. They chatted, laughed, and drank. Veronica played her part perfectly, drawing him deeper into her web. When they left the bar, John suggested his apartment. Veronica agreed, her heart pounding with anticipation. In the privacy of his home, she turned the charm up to 11. John never saw it coming. As he leaned in for a kiss, Veronica's hand slipped into her purse, fingers wrapping around the cold metal of a small but deadly knife. The look of shock in his eyes as the blade slid into his flesh was intoxicating. Veronica watched as life drained from his eyes, feeling a rush of power and euphoria. She cleaned up meticulously, leaving no trace of her presence. John was just another casualty, a pawn in her game. Veronica's first kill was a rush unlike any other. She felt invincible, powerful. The sensation of controlling life and death was addicting. She knew she had to do it again. Veronica's appetite for the kill grew insatiable. She swiped and matched, lured and slaughtered. Each victim was a new thrill, a new challenge. Her methods varied, keeping the authorities guessing. Poison, strangulation, drowning. Each death was an art form. She learned to cover her tracks better, using disposable phones and fake identities. The police were baffled, and the media sensationalized the murders, dubbing her the Tinder Temptress. But Veronica was always one step ahead, savoring the chaos she created. Her second victim, Michael, was a charming entrepreneur. Their date was perfect, and he was utterly smitten. Veronica led him to a secluded beach, where she drowned him under the moonlight. The water muffled his screams, and the ocean carried away the evidence. Her third victim, Daniel, was a fitness trainer. They met at a trendy cafe, and Veronica's allure was irresistible. She slipped a potent poison into his drink, watching as he convulsed and gasped for air, his life slipping away in a crowded yet oblivious room. With each kill, Veronica's methods grew more sophisticated. She began to relish the planning, the meticulous details that ensured she remained undetected. Her confidence soared, and she reveled in the double life she led. Detective Mark Reynolds had seen many gruesome cases, but this one was different. The pattern was elusive, the killer's method inconsistent. But he knew there was a connection. The victims were all men, successful, attractive, and found through Tinder. Mark was driven, his personal life a wreck, but his professional instincts sharp. He began piecing together clues, diving into the world of online dating to understand the killer's psyche. Each night, he grew more obsessed, knowing that catching the Temptress was his only purpose. Mark's superiors were skeptical at first, dismissing the murders as unrelated, but Mark's persistence paid off. He discovered that all the victims had one common link: a mysterious and seductive woman on Tinder. The investigation took a new direction, and Mark's obsession deepened. He spent sleepless nights analyzing profiles, tracking conversations, and identifying potential victims. His dedication was unwavering, even as his personal life crumbled. His relationship with his wife, Sarah, became strained, and his once active social life vanished. But Mark didn't care. He was consumed by the hunt for the Temptress. Veronica sensed the walls closing in. The detective was getting closer, his persistence unnerving. She thrived on the danger, turning the hunt into a game. She began leaving subtle clues, taunting Mark with messages that only he could decipher. Their exchanges were a dance of intellect and madness. Veronica admired Mark's tenacity, even as she plotted his downfall. She planned her moves carefully, setting traps that would lead him into her clutches. Mark received an anonymous email one evening. The message was simple: "Catch me if you can." Attached was a photo of Veronica, her face obscured, standing over her latest victim. Mark's heart raced. He knew he was getting closer, but he also knew the killer was playing with him. The game intensified. Veronica began stalking Mark, learning about his routines, his habits, and his weaknesses. She relished the thrill of being so close to her pursuer, yet remaining unseen. Mark, in turn, became more vigilant, sensing the killer's presence but unable to pinpoint it. Veronica's backstory unraveled through a series of flashbacks. Her childhood was marred by neglect and abuse. As a young woman, she was lured into the world of adult entertainment, where she was exploited and discarded. The industry that once celebrated her beauty eventually destroyed her spirit. Her psychological break came after a particularly brutal encounter with a powerful producer. Left broken and humiliated, Veronica vowed to take control of her life by any means necessary. Her transformation into a killer was both a means of empowerment and a way to exact revenge on a world that had wronged her. Mark's personal life also came into focus. His marriage to Sarah was on the brink of collapse. The case consumed him, and Sarah struggled to understand his obsession. Their once loving relationship deteriorated, and Mark found solace only in his pursuit of the Temptress. The media frenzy around the murders added another layer of complexity. Sensational headlines and relentless coverage put pressure on the police force and added to Mark's stress. Public fear and fascination grew, with people taking extra precautions in their online interactions. The final confrontation was inevitable. Veronica lured Mark to an abandoned warehouse, a place reeking of death and decay. The air was thick with tension as they faced each other, predator and prey. Mark's heart raced as he stepped into the darkened building, gun drawn. He could feel her presence, the danger palpable. Veronica watched from the shadows, her mind racing with possibilities. The chase was swift and brutal. Veronica's traps were cunning, but Mark's determination was unyielding. They clashed in a deadly dance, each move calculated, each strike precise. In the end, it was Mark's relentless drive that won. Veronica lay on the ground, defeated but defiant. She smiled as he cuffed her, knowing that the game had been worth every moment. The media frenzy that followed Veronica's capture was unprecedented. Mark was hailed as a hero, but the victory felt hollow. The Temptress had left her mark on him, a scar that would never heal. Veronica was imprisoned, her beauty and charm a distant memory. But her legend lived on, a cautionary tale of desire and death. And somewhere, deep in the bowels of the prison, Veronica plotted her next move, her mind as sharp and dangerous as ever. Mark tried to rebuild his life. His relationship with Sarah remained strained, but they found solace in the fact that the killer was behind bars. Mark continued his work, but the case of the Tinder Temptress haunted him, a constant reminder of the darkness that lurks beneath the surface of desire. Veronica sat in her prison cell, a smirk playing on her lips as she recalled her past triumphs. The memories of her kills were etched vividly in her mind, each one a masterpiece of seduction and destruction. As she reflected on her journey from starlet to killer, she felt a sense of vindication. Her childhood had been a blur of neglect and abuse. Raised by a mother who saw her as a burden and a father who was absent more often than not, Veronica learned early on that she had to fend for herself. Her beauty became her ticket to escape poverty, but it also became her curse. The allure of fame and fortune drew her into the world of entertainment, where she was celebrated for her looks, but exploited for her naivety. She endured years of manipulation and degradation at the hands of powerful men who saw her as nothing more than a commodity. But Veronica was not one to be pitied. She turned her pain into power, using her newfound skills of manipulation and deception to carve out a path of revenge. Each kill was not just an act of violence, it was a reclaiming of control, a striking back at a world that had tried to break her.